Hey everyone, so today we're going to talk about SEO 101. So these are going to be fundamentals to search engine optimization. It's a pretty comprehensive presentation. I did it for the American Marketing Association this summer, and I got some good reviews, so I think you guys are going to really like it. It offers a lot of value. I'll also show you like next steps of what you could do to start really making progress if you want to do search engine optimization on your own. It's definitely possible. Most of it is not complicated. It's really just about being consistent and just spending a certain amount of time on it every week and just keep making steps forward. So let's get going, and we'll learn about some search engine optimization for your practice. So where we're going to start on the SEO journey, that's what we're going to learn where to start. The fundamentals to optimize your website, the basic off-page SEO tactics. That means it's not stuff you're doing on your website, it's stuff you're doing on other people's websites to help with your optimization. How to leverage the second largest search engine. We'll talk about that. You might not know who the second largest search engine is. The first steps in the future of search. We'll just cover that briefly, but you're probably already doing this and don't realize it's related to search. And then what to do after the basics and to just keep on going on your SEO efforts. All right, so what do we do in the first step? What's the first step you need to take? Know your audience. A lot of you know your audience because you're seeing them all the time. So this actually, for an orthodontic practice, you probably have a little bit of an advantage here. But you should probably, we're going to talk about how to kind of segment that audience and record it and put it into a buyer persona. So the first thing you want to start with, and this is Digital Marketer's avatar worksheet. You can download this for free. The link's below. If you just Google customer avatar worksheet, Digital Marketer, you'll find it. And then by the way, right now, if you didn't know, they're offering their lab certification, their lab membership for free for 30 days without a credit card. That'd be a really great thing to do for the next 30 days if you have some extra time and you wanted to learn some new marketing skills. But as you can see in the avatar worksheet, you care about these are the goals, what are the pain points, where do they get the information, and objections and roles. You're really figuring out who the avatar, the buyer persona is so that you can target your marketing efforts. If you were in the meeting a few days ago, we talked about Jane. So I put her in the slide. This is an example of a fictional buyer persona. So you have basic demographic information, where she lives, how old is she, etc. That's one little piece of what an avatar and a buyer persona is. So I want you to remember that. That's not, a buyer persona includes all of these other things. So what are her goals? She wants to stay healthy. She cares about the kids. She always wants to learn. She wants to travel. All those little pieces of information are going to help when we're thinking about what kind of content we're making for search engine optimization, and also any marketing campaign we're doing in general. But you definitely want to take them into account. What are her values? What does she really care about? Where does she get her information? You always do this in general when you're doing a buyer persona. And of course, inevitably, one of those sources is going to be Google. That's why we care about search engine optimization, because people are using Google to do searches and find answers and find solutions to their problems. And what are their challenges, pain points? When you know the challenges and pain points, you know it helps you when you're deciding what content you should be writing. And we'll find out later, a big part of SEO is writing new content. So when you know what your buyer persona cares about, you write content to fit that buyer persona. If you know what questions they're going to have, you write content to answer those questions. When you have nailed down who your buyer persona is, I recommend doing about a 3 for an orthodontic practice is usually suitable, maybe 4, it depends. And then you're going to write content specifically for that buyer persona. So let's just say Jane is our buyer persona. I just wanted to show you an example of one that's been written out. They're actually kind of fun to do. You can do them through putting a survey out and get this information to your patients, from your patients. You can just all get together in a huddle and put this together if you really feel like you know who they are. Interview a few people. There's tons of ways to get this information, but the important thing is get started and put one together, at least one, to start focusing your SEO efforts. So next is you need to get into your customer's head. A good example I like to give you is if you're thinking of what people are searching for, say you sell used cars. A salesperson, a used car salesperson, or the owner of that dealership might call them pre-owned cars. That's just the term he uses. But you would never try to optimize for that keyword because your customer is never going to search for pre-owned cars. They're going to search for used cars. So that's part of getting into your customer's head. You need to look at your practice from the customer's point of view. What are the questions they have? How are they searching? What are they doing when they're trying to find the solution to their problem? Just make sure every time you're working on this sort of activity, try to do it from the point of view of the customer. So we'll talk a little bit about intent. We can make a whole presentation just about this, but I wanted to stick it in here because it's so important. When you're doing your search engine optimization efforts and you're picking keywords and you're writing content and you're making changes to the website, don't ever forget about intent. And when I say intent, I mean when someone's on the internet out there, they type in some words, some keywords to find whatever answer they're looking for, they have a very specific intention. When they're typing that keyword, they expect to see a certain result to solve whatever issue they're having. So when they click on your link after your search result comes up and they go to your website, if that website page doesn't match the intent of the searcher, it doesn't give them the answer they're looking for, the information they're looking for, etc. If the intent doesn't match the content that they click through, they're an unsatisfied customer. So Google wants to show pages that answer the searcher's intent. So make sure your page does the best job of doing that and achieves whatever they typed into their search query. That is the goal. And then on-page optimization and links are important. Those are other SEO techniques. But if you don't match your intent, then you're never going to be able to compete. Some symptoms of you not doing a job with intent is high bounce rate on your website. If you notice your whole website or certain pages of your website have a really high bounce rate, that means it's coming up for searches that don't make sense for the content that's on the page. When people are searching something, your page comes up in the search result, they click it and they didn't find what they were looking for, so they of course immediately leave. That's a good, when that's happening, you need to kind of rework the content of that page, look at the meta tags, look at all the SEO related activity and switch it up, because that page, not only is it not helping you, it's hurting you because they've had a negative experience. And Google, of course, is just going to hurt your ranking because they're seeing this. They're seeing that there's a high bounce rate on that page and the intent isn't matching. And if that keeps happening on your website, then Google's going to hurt your ranking. So let's talk about keyword research. So keywords are those single or multiple word phrases you put in your Google search bar or Bing or whatever when you're trying to find something, right? So we need to determine what keywords we want to rank for. How realistic is it that we can rank for those terms? We're not going to rank for smile, for instance. At least a normal orthodontic practice that doesn't have a huge budget is probably not going to rank for smile, at least not anytime soon. That one single keyword, right? What is the intent? Again, what is the intent of the searcher using the term? These are the main keyword considerations you should consider when you're doing this research. All right, so let's talk about SEO. So the first Google search, the first step when you're doing some keyword research, start typing in to the actual Google search bar. They're going to see, this is an example of the autofill. We just put best ortho and we hadn't kept typing. Google is telling you these phrases that most other people type. They're kind of giving you a little hint. It's a little cheat to figure out the phrases people actually type. So you can play with this for a while and start recording them and choose the ones that make sense. Obviously, best orthodontist in Charleston, South Carolina is something people are looking for. Best orthodontist near me, that's something obviously people are going to look for. But this is one good way to start that keyword research because Google's kind of showing their cards to you, like what do people really usually type? Because their job here is to return the result as fast as possible to you so you don't have to finish typing. So they're using all their computer algorithm power to guess what your intent is. And they're getting very good at it if you haven't noticed. All right, so then there's Google Keyword Planner. This is found in your Google Ads account. Now, even if you don't have Google Ads, you can start an account and then pause at the campaigns just so that you have an ads account. And then you can use Google Keyword Planner. So you don't actually have to have running ads. But you can enter keywords like, for instance, we tried custom braces here and orthodontist, and it's going to show you recommended words on the other side, on the results, and show you what people are actually typing. And what they're trying to do is show you keywords that they want you to start paying for, which is what we would do when we're running ads. But this is also really good information when you're doing your SEO research, because we're going to show how many people monthly are searching for this term. As you can see, only 210 people are searching for custom braces. So that's really not a great term to use. It's not a long enough keyword. Or people just aren't used to using that term yet, so that's not a good one to use. And the competition is high. So if you have high competition and low search, that's a bad one. That's a bad keyword to use because it's going to be really hard to rank or cost you a lot in an ad, and there's not a lot of people who even care about it. And then you can look at the bids, etc., if you're running actual ads. But knowing the volume of searches for a term and how hard it is to rank for is very valuable information. So this is another place you can use, another tool you can use to start gathering that list of keywords, because at first you just want to put a big, gigantic list of keywords and then whittle it down. Next is Ubersuggest. You're going to hear me talk a lot about Ubersuggest because it's a great tool. It's relatively new. It has a free version, and even the paid version is very inexpensive. But let me just show you a couple things that Ubersuggest can do for you. And this is not comprehensive, and they keep adding stuff. So let's just say I put Smile Direct Club in there because I thought that would just be an interesting topic. And let's just check out what we have for Smile Direct Club. So if you click, one of the things it'll show you is the total organic keywords that rank right for that site, right? So Smile Direct Club is huge and have a huge budget, so they rank for 51,000 keywords, which is ridiculous. They're getting almost 250,000 organic visits per month. Organic means they're not paid, so it's not using Google Ads, Instagram, Facebook. They're not paying for traffic. They're actually just getting this traffic because their SEO value is so high. Their domain score goes from 0 to 100. Like Google.com is in the 90s, extremely difficult to get something that high. And then backlinks, that's how many links other people's sites have to your website. And that's one of the best ways to grow your SEO values, to get more backlinks. And you can see right here, this is an estimate Ubersuggest of how many visits they've been getting over time. And this is actually very interesting information. It's only been since last May. Look how aggressively they've grown their organic search. It actually went down a little bit in February, which is interesting. But they've more than doubled the traffic to their site. So this is this is one of the ways you can kind of peek into your competitors. You could do this to all the competitors around you and see what's going on. You can also look at the keywords that their site ranks for. So you can put in anyone's.com. Of course, you put your own in as well, but this is good for competitor research. It'll give you the volume of traffic per month guessed of people searching that, what position this .com is in the ranking. So on page 1, after the 3-pack and after the ads, the organic listings, the estimated visits to their website of this keyword, and this is the search difficulty. So the higher the difficulty, the higher it is for you to compete for that keyword. And then if you click on any of them or hover over them, click them, you can see on this screen some information about this. So I choose clear aligners. I thought that was an interesting one. As you can see, by the way, about 6,600 people a month search for it. They're getting about 1/3 of that traffic. So That'll tell you how many visits for this keyword these top websites are getting. So it'll tell you what websites are getting the most traffic for clear aligners, that specific keyword. And that can be very helpful, because when you have a certain keyword, let's say you guys are doing local search. So you know what keywords once you've determined what keywords you care about by doing this research, you can see which one of your competitors are ranking or getting more visits for that keyword than you. Then you could go click here and go directly to that term and sort of backwards engineer, like, what are they doing on their website that is making them rank better on that specific page for that term, and then just do a better job on your website. If they have a blog that's ranking for a certain term that you want to rank for, see what the subject of the blog is and write a longer blog with more content, with videos on it, and it's more helpful. If you answer the question better than they did on your blog, for instance, you're going to probably eventually rank higher than them. So that's one way to kind of laser focus in on how to get a keyword ranking, be ranked for a keyword that you care about by doing some competitor research. The top pages that they are getting visits for on your website. So you can look at your competitors and yourself if you don't have Google Analytics set up, but you can see what pages are getting the most visits on a certain website. So you should be able to look in Google Analytics for this, but you can't look into someone else's Google Analytics. So you could look at your competitors and see which pages are ranking the highest. As you can see, their smile assessment is second. That's very interesting to me. It would make me feel like every orthodontist should have some sort of smile assessment page, because if everyone in the country is going to this page, or they have it's their second highest page, then that's interest that a lot of people who are potential patients are interested in some sort of smile assessment process. And then, of course, pricing results. But this sort of research is going to help you determine what pages you should have on your website, what pages you should be paying more attention to that maybe you haven't. Maybe you just wrote a paragraph of text a couple of years ago on that page and you never did anything else to it, and it's just been sitting there static. It's also going to give you ideas of what blogs you could be writing to help get some of this traffic. And by the way, this also just shows you how many shares Facebook and Pinterest had of those pages. That's also a good piece of information. But Ubersuggest in general is just a great tool to do your SEO research. So next, let's talk about long tail keywords. Long tail keywords are keywords that have more than one keyword term in them. So keyword is just one word. A long tail keyword has several words in it. And then, so long tail keywords specifically have 3 or 4 phrases, which are very, very specific. Usually the longer the phrase, the more intent the person has, the closer to the longer the phrase means they know exactly what they're looking for and they expect something very specific as a result. So the good news is, if we know their intent and they're easier to rank for, long tail keywords are really a good option for you, especially in the beginning. So why focus on them? This chart kind of illustrates it. A single word phrase is going to be very competitive. So it'll be very expensive on Google Ads, etc. And it's going to be very hard to rank for. And as they get longer, the competition goes lower and the conversion goes higher. So conversion is a conversion event. So if they have a long tail keyword, they go to your site, just going to your site is a conversion. So they've gone from a search to clicking to your site. But not the conversion you care about is they're on your site and they call you, they fill out a form, they fill out a scheduled appointment, they chat with you, they do a virtual consultation. They convert from just traffic to your site to connecting with the practice somehow. So they're easier to rank for and they convert better. So long tail keywords are generally the way to go. The next thing, meta tags, these are a little bit old school SEO, but they're still important enough that you need to just take care of them and make sure all your pages have correct meta tags on them. So let's just talk a little bit about what they are. So they're the little meta elements, or like little pieces of text on the pages, and on the behind the scenes that are in the head section of your code. That's the top of your page in the code, and they help define the contents of the page. So the most important ones you generally care about are the meta keywords, which you're going to get when you do the keyword research, the title tag, and the meta description. We'll go over what these are. So the meta title, that is the top thing, is going to have under 60 characters. That's very important. I'll show you a tool to make sure that your meta title actually looks good when it comes up in the results. You don't want to overdo these keywords in it because you want it to feel natural, but also have your keywords embedded in it. Make sure every page has a unique one. This is often violated because a lot of WordPress sites have a plugin that'll automatically put it in there. Like you put one meta tag in and it'll put it on every single page. That's better than nothing, but that's literally what you should do right before you're gonna do it properly and make sure every page has its own meta title. Put the most important keywords first in the phrase because that's what people are gonna see first. And then write it for your customers. Don't write it for a computer. It should feel natural and not look like someone's just trying to rank for SEO. So here's a little tool you can use. It's on Moz, Moz.com. It's their title tag preview tool. What it lets you do is put in the title tag here and it'll show you what it looks like. The reason it's nice to use is because you want to put as much text in there as physically possible without it cutting off any of what you're writing. Because the more text, the better chance it's going to work for you, but you don't want it to cut it off because then it will look funny and it won't be understandable. So this is a great little tool to help you with your meta title. Where did those titles show up? They're right here on that tab. When you see that text in the tab of your browser, that's the meta title tag that people put on that site. And also in the result, it's often the first title right here. So you can see why they're important, even if they're not helping you rank as well as they used to. For the user experience, it's an important attribute that you need to take care of. All right, and then the meta description is that longer snippet which summarizes the page's content. So it makes sense, a title, description. So search engines, they show it in the search results, so they're going to see it in the results. So that's going to help when people have a certain intent in mind. If the description matches their intent, they're more likely to click on it. So you want to optimize that meta description. Yoast has a good tool for this, and you can put it in there, see what it looks like. Yoast is really what I use for our WordPress sites for the most part. Now, this may change. There's a few good ones. We generally use Yoast, and there's a free version of it. So if you have a WordPress site, this is one we like to use. It does make it easier, but that is one of the advantages to WordPress sites, is they make a lot of this kind of boring meta tags, that part of SEO much easier. You're not writing code into a website like you used to have to do back in the day. And here's just some examples, like in a particular search result. This is the meta title. This is the meta description. So just visually showing you what I was talking about. You want to control this because this is part of the perception of your practice when people are searching for you. All right, just one rule. We're going to talk about optimizing text on the website. This is easy to mess up because you want to rank so badly, but you need to always remember you're writing for people, not for search engines. You're writing for both, but the priority is for people because we are the ones using these tools and it needs to feel right to us. So never forget that. Any content you're writing in general, you're writing for people first, and then you're writing for the algorithm second. This is a good little tip. Your primary keyword, so we've chosen the keyword for a particular page. The H1 tag, that is the largest header tag. It's usually just the title on your website. You can ask a web guy about where yours is on your page. They're generally in the same part of the page in every internal page. Try to use your primary keyword in your headline. So as you can see here, what Neil Patel did in his URL, it's simple guide to SEO. He actually named the page that, and then he put simple step-by-step guide to SEO. And then again here, So Google knows what this page is. It's obviously about a guide, a step-by-step guide to search engine optimization. So this is one simple thing you can do on all your pages that's actually going to help increase your search engine ranking. And a lot of people don't do this. And if you don't control your site, you can just write all of them in an Excel doc. You tell your web guy what you want the title to be, or just ask them, I want to please make sure they match. Show them to me before you update them, so you make sure they're written for people and not computers. You approve them and they change it. But it's not that hard to make the changes. The hardest part is writing all of them. All right, and then we don't want a keyword load or put a crazy amount of keywords on your website. So aim for 0.5%, that's 0.5% to 2.5% of keywords in a copy. Here's a great example of exactly what not to do. This person was writing for a computer and not for a person. And this used to work 15, 20 years ago, but it doesn't. Google knows this doesn't make sense and this sounds totally fake. And they'll actually hurt your ranking if you play this game and do this. So use both primary and related keywords. So you have a primary keyword that you care about, but also put related keywords in that page. And you can use that keyword planner tool to determine what those are. So you can use different versions of the keyword or related keywords on that page, and it's still going to help you rank for that main keyword. So that helps you write it so it sounds more natural. All right, let's talk about blogs a little bit. If you're not doing a blog, I highly suggest that you do. If you're really trying to do any type of search engine ranking, because blogs are just such a critical part of it. So why do we care about blogs? First, it keeps your website fresh and current. So a lot of practices, there's not much that's going to change except for maybe some staff changes on the website. So for the most part, the only pages that are going to have fresh content are the blog posts, because most of the time you're not going to change things more than once or twice a year on the other pages, and even that sometimes is a stretch. Sometimes pages don't change for years. And Google search engines, all search engines, really like fresh content. It shows that there's something happening with the practice, with the website. There's more information, there's more value that it's giving to customers. It keeps people on the website longer. That's always a great goal to have, because the longer someone's on the site, that means that the longer they're spending building a relationship with the doctor, with the team, with the practice, with the brand, that means they're consuming your content. So you want people to be on your site for as long as possible, unless they just scheduled an appointment and they're ready to go. But even then, I would say I'd still rather them, if they scheduled the appointment, I'd still rather them spend a good amount of time on the website, because that's increasing the chances they're going to show up for the appointment. That's increasing the chances they're actually going to turn into a start. That's increasing the chances they're going to be a good patient who follows what you're telling them, because a lot of information was on the website and you've just reiterated it in the one-on-one meeting with them. So always try to keep people on the website as long as possible. Video is a great way to do this, for instance. It helps you target the long tail keywords. So when you know you have these set of long tail keywords that you care about, you can put them in blogs. You're not just stuck with that. You have the one full Invisalign page that we're trying to rank for, and then we only have one page about Invisalign full. We could have several blogs about it that all link to that page, that reinforce it and make it stronger. I'll show you a little diagram about that in a little bit. It gives you opportunities for internal linking. Internal linking is when one page in your site links to another page. And that's like a little vote, where a backlink is someone else's site, not your site, links to yours, which is actually the more powerful link, because that's someone else basically voting for your page, saying it is about this subject and I found value in it. And Google takes that very seriously. Less seriously than it used to, but still backlinks are one of the most important aspects of SEO. But internal links are also important, not as important as backlinks, but still critical, because it's helping Google figure out what these pages are about. And the more links to a page, we call them a pillar page, the more it reinforces to Google that that page is about whatever specific topic that you want that it is supposed to be about. All right, and it gives others more reasons to link back to your site. If you have a really great blog, I was just looking at an orthodontist site earlier who reached out to me, and I noticed they had the braces guy on their Facebook page. You know, he's not associated with them, but the braces guy, he's on TikTok, he's very popular. The braces guy had a very simple video about what if you have an emergency, your bracket comes off, what do you do? And he had a little video to show you how to do it. And that was valuable enough for a totally different practice to post that on their Facebook, which is then, of course, they're trying to get traffic to their brand. But the braces guy just got free promotion because he put out valuable enough content that he kind of hit the easy button for this other practice to put it on their website. So when you do that and you have really valuable blogs, other people might share them, but you're always going to be, as the original creator of that content, the one that gets the most benefit from that. And then it helps you connect with your audience, of course. If you're blogging, you're building that relationship. Every blog is a chance to build that relationship and make it stronger between you and your potential customer or your existing patient, because you're hopefully writing blogs that are a resource of value. They're teaching something. They're connecting the audience to you. And that's all going to have a lot of value. It's going to help build that relationship online. So when it is offline and you're physically building that relationship, it's kind of reinforcing that whole experience. All right, let's talk about internal linking so we're clear on what that is. Here's a very bad diagram that explains it, but it explains it pretty well. So you have your home page. Let's say this is Invisalign. These are braces. These are custom braces, the 3 categories of the page. These could all be blog posts or content or other pages. They would link to them, and they would, of course, link back to each other. And then posts would link to other related posts. All of this is helping Google understand the hierarchy of your site. It's helping Google understand what that page is about. And it's reinforcing these are what we would call pillar pages. It's reinforcing the importance of those pages by having other content linked to it. So this is a good example of an internal linking model that you could take for your site. And then backlinks, the most important links, of course. How do we get more backlinks? How do we get more votes from outside websites to our site? One is have guest blogs for larger sites. So you could do if you do a good enough blog, or you're known for creating great content, you could get something at AAO. Or maybe someone like an influencer like the braces guy loves what you're doing, and he puts your content on his site, which goes out to thousands and thousands of people. When you make great content like a blog, other people are going to trust you to write for them or share your content, etc. Offer your content as a resource. You could just offer it up to other people. Hey, I wrote this great thing, a great ebook. Would you like to use it on your site? I'd be happy to send it to you. That'll cause another backlink to your site. You could have a great infographic, and they could post it on their social media, and it links back to your site. When you make good enough content, people are going to use it because it's going to be helping them connect with their patients and then connect to your website, which is going to grow the search engine strength of your website and help you get local traffic back to your site. Try Harrow, help a reporter out or answer questions. So if you have a large practice, even if you don't, help a reporter out or just reporters literally asking for help, and you can answer those questions, you can send content to them, etc., and that could end up becoming a backlink back to your site. And if you get the right one, it could make a huge difference. You could have something go viral very easily because some of those reporters are connected to huge sites with huge domain authority that would really help the authority of your site. Directories, this is sort of an old school technique for SEO. So you just have to be careful with this to make sure you're on legitimate directories. But, if you're related to orthodontic directories, local search directories, there's a ton of those major ones that you should be on. Obviously, all the Googles, Bings, Yahoos, there's Angie's List, things like that. When you're on legit directories, that's just something you want to check that box. Go through all the directories you should be on and make sure you're on them. And this is you can use Ubersuggest, look at your competitors, what directories are they on, what backlinks. You can see what backlinks they have, choose the ones that make sense for your site, and then reach out to those people and see if you can get a link to your site on those directories or wherever. All right, so that's the basic SEO. So what is the second largest search engine? Some of you might know, but I bet most of you don't. It's YouTube. So it's not the second most popular, but it's the second largest. There are so many videos being created every single day. We're creating one right now, that it's becoming a great source of information. I know I use it all the time. You can search whatever you want, and generally there's gonna be at least one or two videos that have the answer. So if you've been hesitant to use YouTube, this is one of the great reasons to do it. This is also a great time to be making YouTube videos. If you have time right now, or your staff has time, you could pick topics you know are interesting, and we can start shooting videos because it's gonna benefit the practice later. So just a few tips on optimizing them. Rename the video file, the actual file, something related to your keyword, because that's metadata that Google knows about. Insert your keyword into the video title naturally. Again, it's like those meta descriptions. Same rules apply here. Put it in there, but make it sound normal. Optimize your video description. Same thing as the meta description, basically. Make a description that has your keywords in it, but sounds natural and makes the person understand immediately what the video is about, so that when they click it, their intent obviously matches the video content. And then always tag your videos with popular keywords that you care about. Because you've done the keyword research, you know what keywords you care about. A lot of people put those keywords in a little document and they can copy and paste them into the YouTube videos they're making, and just get rid of ones that don't make sense and add a few that aren't there. But there's some that there's going to be a certain amount you're always going to want in every video. All right, have good cover art on your channel. This is Neil Patel's. I always like to use him as an example because he does this stuff very well. So have this professionally designed, unless you guys are really good at it, but take it seriously. Don't just slap something up there. Your cover art is your brand, and a lot of people will end up, if you have good videos, on your YouTube channel at some point and see this cover art. And then there's thumbnails associated with the video, and a lot of people don't take this seriously because it's easy just to throw something up there and then, oh yeah, I have to put a thumbnail. And there's something you can change later as well, but try to make them, you want it to look and match your brand, so there's synergy between the thumbnail and the practice's brand, but I also need to be able to quickly look at it within a second or 2 seconds or less. I know exactly what the video is about, and make sure that when it's about exactly, it's actually about what the video is actually about. If the title matches what the video is about, don't try to trick someone to click the video and all of a sudden it's about something totally different. It's going to have the opposite effect that you want. But just make it simple. Try to make them, and Neil's actually not following this very well, try to make them somewhat similar to one another. So when people see thumbnails of your channel amongst other people's channels, other people's videos, they're like, oh yeah, that's a Neil Patel video. I recognize the color. I recognize, your eye will kind of instantaneously recognize that subconsciously, and it'll kind of stick out. So this is something you can make in PowerPoint. It's not that big of a deal if you don't have a graphic designer at your disposal. Just trying to make them consistent and understandable. But that's going to help with conversion. Conversion meaning someone clicks on your video when they're searching for that subject. Use a great photo, thumbnail, include the title text in the image. Use one font generally. He's actually not doing that very well, but generally you can use 1 to 3 fonts. Make a template. You can do that in PowerPoint. Good contrast is important. Make sure that the words are very easy to see and the color of them isn't blended into the backgrounds. Because again, you want the eye to instantly catch it and know what it's about very easily. Be honest, of course. And then you can use Canva. That's also another great piece of software that'll do this for you. Canva is a good option. All right, the future of SEO. So just to keep in mind what I think the future of it is, it's going to be voice. So by 2020, this is about a year old. So it's happening right now. 50% of all searches will be voice search. You probably find yourself doing this, not realizing what the effect is going to be. And if you don't start optimizing or put it on the horizon to optimize your site for voice, you're going to get left behind, right? So we'll just talk about 3 simple strategies to get started on this. Using structured data. Schema markup, also known as structured data, is just one factor. It's some code on your site, and it helps when Google wants to show things like events that are happening, reviews, all this. When you see these on a search result, that's because that website has structured data. And with WordPress, it's actually not that hard. There's paid plugins that do this for you. But if you don't have a WordPress site or you don't want to deal with it, this is generally something that a professional is going to do for you. But if you do have WordPress and you're savvy, this is something you can learn well enough in YouTube, using that as search engine, and do it yourself. Claim your Google My Business listing if you haven't. This seems like a no-brainer, but I've noticed I've often had clients that we've onboarded that didn't know who owned their Google My Business listing, because maybe a coordinator started it like 10 years ago or something, and you don't remember how to get access to it, etc. Google My Business is becoming increasingly important. Even now, during what's going on right now, I'd say it's even more important. Are your hours updated right now? You can have little ads in these if you want, and that's totally free. People are going to find these listings when they're searching for your practice, and you want to make sure that it's filled in correctly. You want to make sure you have reviews. You want to make sure your name is written correctly. Just make sure it's consistent. This is part of also that directory research when you're doing all of that. This is one example of a directory that was Google Business listing. It just happens to be the most important one. But just claim your listing and optimize it. There's plenty of videos to show you how to do that. Or if you need help, we can help you do that. We'd love to do that. Create blog posts that answer customer questions. So when you're doing the keyword research, you're going to get a good idea of blog topics because you're going to want them to match the keywords. But when you're optimizing for voice, what are people doing when they're using voice? They're asking a question. They're asking Alexa and Google Hub in their phone a question, and Google is trying to figure out what the answer is. So if you write blog posts from the point of view of answering a question, it's going to be more likely that you're going to match what the intention is of the person asking the question. So there's a higher chance Google is going to give your result because your blog is specifically designed to answer a question. Google doesn't have to guess that it's answering the question. So create blog posts that answer questions. I would say that besides the SEO value of doing that, it puts the practice in a position to be seen as a resource for the community. If your blog answers any question that a potential patient can possibly have before they've decided on who to use, then you're going to have a huge strategic advantage over your competitors because you'll have been seen as a resource over and over and over again before you even meet this person. So they'll built all this trust because they've seen you as a resource and knows what they're doing before you've ever met. That's going to make a huge difference on converting that person from a scheduled appointment to an actual start. So when you're writing blogs, think about answering questions. And then after the basics, what are just some things we can do? Just keep learning. And we're going to post this on the main landing page, but LinkedIn Learning, I think, has a huge value. It's I would compare it to college, honestly, if you're doing marketing for anyone, because you can learn almost everything you need to with LinkedIn Learning right now. And then Neil Patel also has based on marketing school, I think is what he calls it. So if you are looking for SEO information, he's writing about it constantly, and he does an exceptional job. If you want to see an example of a blog that just goes above and beyond to answer a question, that's where I would go. If you're thinking, how can I just saw my competitor had a great blog, how do I make mine better? Look at how Neil Patel writes his blogs, and you'll start understanding how you can make it way better. And then LinkedIn Learning has, if you want to get real serious, they have an AMA, American Marketing Association certified. You become a certified marketer in digital marketing. They have what they call a learning path And it'll just, if you go through all the lessons in there, and they have a 30-day free trial, if you didn't know that. So it is possible to go through them if you have a lot of time on your hands. And you could have a fundamental understanding of everything that you need to know in digital marketing in general, not just SEO. I put together some recommended links that I like, and we'll have them on our site, and so you can download those. And there's a lot of them that are in this, but they're not exactly the same. But this will really help you if you want to really get deep dive and start learning all the skills you need to have to be marketing in practice. And then always measure what you're doing. If you aren't looking at your Google Analytics account every month, then please start doing that, because this is going to give you data on how well your website and your brand is doing. And it's going to give you ideas of what to do to help it, where you should focus your efforts. You also want to know, is a blog or a page blowing up? Did some content I make, is it doing really well? And I need to shift my focus to it. You always want to measure what's going on so that you know what's working, what's not, and then you can make changes along the way. And then keep using Ubersuggest. You can keep analyzing your website, and it'll give you a score, and it'll give you recommended steps to take to make it better. So I would say at least once a month, check out your Google Analytics, put your site in Ubersuggest if you're working on your SEO efforts. All right, so when you get back into the office, or you get back to whatever your normal day-to-day activity is, these are some things I would suggest you do. Bookmark that landing page that you'll get from the email, that Q&A sessions, because this video will be on there and you'll be able to reference it. Decide who is going to be in charge of your SEO, who's actually going to do search engine optimization for you. If you choose someone, they have the ball, they can run with it, it's their responsibility. Block out at least 1 hour a week, and I literally mean go into the calendar and put whatever the appointment needs to be, and you know that you only work on SEO during that 1 hour. You can do more. I just at least do the 1 hour. Find that slow time during the week where you know you can work on this activity. As long as you keep working on it, it's just going to keep getting better. Use Ubersuggest to use the SEO analyzer. It's going to really be eye-opening unless your SEO is just amazing. And then fix things that the analysis tells you. It's going to basically tell you what you should fix. It's not perfect, but when you're in the beginning stages of it, you're going to have more than enough things that you can fix in the Ubersuggest suggestions. And then, of course, you can email me anytime. And if you have any questions, or you want help, you want us to do this for you, of course, we'd love to do that. Or if you just have questions about it, or you just like to meet and talk about strategy, I'd love to do that with you. So this is the end of the SEO presentation. We have about 10 minutes left for questions, so I'll just leave it open. And if you have anything, just chat us, and I'll be happy to answer.